I woke up to the realization that one of my Instagram posts had about 5 times as many views as was typical, and it's about how to get an 808 to work in a little speaker. Okay, now the change is going to happen. If you look under here, that's my subwoofer. You'll see that my phone doesn't have one of those. My laptop, it sounds pretty good, but it doesn't have one of those either. As far as I can tell, no sub. And previously, I did a primer on 808, and I'll put the little eye bubble thing up here, so if you need some other information, you can have a look there too. One of the things I do is listen in my laptop and my earbuds quite early on in the mix to see what the bass sounds like. In this case, I put the mix on the laptop and I really couldn't hear the bass at all. You don't feel the harmonic relationship of the bass related to the chordal information and to the melody. So you want to make sure that you can hear that even in the little speakers. So in Pro Tools, what I did here, select a bus, I put output on a bus, I set it to pre-fader. The level going into the bus is always going to be the same. Here I've set up an auxiliary channel with the input being the same as the output here in this channel, and it's going into this channel, and we call that in parallel. What I've done here is used this black box, and this is the setup that I used. It's really cranked up on the triode and the pentode. So this is what the 808 sounds like by itself. Let's just record that. This is what I've added. Then I add in the other part. What I've done is I've EQ'd out the bottom here so that the frequencies in the bottom aren't distorted. So the bottom end itself, the big part, doesn't really change. What I'm looking for is a way to get more note, more overtone, so that you can hear it on smaller speakers, because smaller speakers won't produce these low frequencies. I don't necessarily want to distort the low part of the signal. I just want to bring out the note a little bit. So if you look here, in this part, what I've done is I've given it a big boost, almost 7 dB at 1K or 1000 Hertz. What it does is it brings out the harmonics, and then you can hear it in the small speaker. I'm going to play you the drums and you can hear what the vibe of the groove is. It's got almost kind of like a tropical kind of feel. Doesn't really change the bottom end very much, and that's what I was going for here. So it's important to do this because this gives you the illusion of size, and you can hear what note it's playing, and the harmonic structure comes more into focus. And if you rely on the bottom end for the energy of the song, then obviously it's not going to work in a whole bunch of places. Okay, well, I'm waiting for that to load. It's almost done. I'll just show you who's the head of A&R around here. What you think of that last one? I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. You know he's in charge. So this next example is by an artist named Cajun, and I didn't actually use the parallel processing on this one because when I got the kick drum from the producer, it already had distortion on it and it was already zinging through little speakers pretty good. And I will put a link in the description so you can go listen to the song on Spotify. I used Neutron, which is a really great processor. I like this a lot because it has all of these different processors built in. Really like the sound of this EQ a lot. So it's not normal for me to add a ton of bottom end to an 808, but the range of this 808 was quite high, so I was trying to get more size out of it. So I've added a lot of bottom end, and I've got some top end in here to make it zing, and then I just pulled out some mids that were sort of just a little too bonky and getting in the way of the song, generally speaking. This range in here, the 100 to 200 range, sometimes you can get size, but sometimes this 100 zone, especially if you have too much of that with a lower frequency 808, that's when you end up with the speakers sounding like they're blowing up, even though you're still not really getting the size you want. I've added some compression. You can see the compressors recovering. And then this is more vintage compressor. It's just compressing the mid-range a little bit to bring that mid-range out a little bit more. It's kind of more the high end, I suppose. And then I've got an exciter on it also. What that does is it's making the top end a little bit zingy so that you can hear it in a small speaker a little bit better. And then what I've done, we'll just add tape. And with the tape, you can hear when I add that in, it just kind of smooths the whole thing out a little bit. So when I add the drums, there's something else that I needed to accomplish, and that is, this is a plugin called Track Spacer, and what I'm doing is I'm sending the drum groove to it, and what happens is it dips the 808 out when the drums hit. So it's just a little bit. You can change which frequencies it works on, and if you want to be really careful that you don't do too much, because what happens is it starts to sound like a wah pedal a little bit. The frequencies move around, but if you get a little bit in there, you can actually just get the 808 to step out of the way, especially of the kick drum. It makes the drums feel a little bit stronger. The product that we've become accustomed to is actually a sample of an 808 kick drum, and even in the early days, that's what they did so they could change the pitch of it to match the song. Early samplers had a low bit rate, and it made them kind of crunchy sounding, and that's when people discovered that distorting that sound would bring out harmonics and make it work in smaller speakers. If you've got a question or you need help with mixing or production, DM me on Instagram. I'll put a link to my Instagram. That's where I do a lot of communicating. And if you thought anything I was saying was kind of cool, then it'd be really awesome if you would hit that subscribe button.